Fine. So thank you, Sachin, for confirming that. So now it's fine. We have increased the amplitude of my mic and removed the HD part. Sometimes the heavy tech doesn't work, and we all are techie, and then we know what it is. Okay, so let's start with the session, and when we are archiving this, we will basically start from this. So I will just quickly tell you what basically we are going to see in this section. The why basically I'm doing this. The main idea is we are seeing a lot of jargons thrown to us like S/4HANA Web IDE, and we are also seeing this machine learning coming into picture. Suddenly we are using SAP HANA, and then this S/4HANA, and then everyone started migrating. And migration is not an easy process. It's a 6 months activity. And then as a developer, as a web developer, we are basically like learning previously Java, then JavaScript, and now S/4HANA, it's a web. So we will be basically understanding what we need to learn to work with this new architecture. Will this new architecture change, and what things are fitting? So we will basically interact with this chat as well. You have one chat window with I can see, and then I will be taking those questions as well, and it will be mostly interactive session. A lot of experts are going to come and deliver courses from UFFC, and it will be me, Manasvi, and a lot of experts from contractors who have worked on S/4HANA. The big projects, they are going to come in the next month and next month, and everyone will really give their best courses. And in short way, I'm just going to demystify a lot of buzz which is there, and try to bring some simplification, and also how we will be helping, and we'll try to make this session at least interactive in terms of what we will do. Also in terms of machine learning, so this is like more about what is happening. A lot of confusion is happening, but also machine learning, we will see a simple quick demo of using Leonardo platform, and then we will basically use a image classification in Leonardo platform and see if it can recognize a cat and a rabbit. So there's also a fun part to it. So basically this year 2018, our objective in UFFCN will be to demystify a lot of things, which is like creating confusion, and then learn simple of those technology, and then like you can also learn it and you can do the work of the project. So what we're trying to do is build end-to-end consultant who know about the back-end, front-end, and also deployment, also knows about components, so you can basically pay it higher. So that is a goal what we have. And there are 3 parts to the learning. The first is basically Web IDE, which is Fiori and UI5 world, which is kind of everyone is now working on Web IDs, and we have experienced Web IDE. It's really amazing because most of the extension of the application of SAP Fiori, it is much easier to Web IDE. There are custom projects, there are tools or fields which you can use with drag and drop. So Web IDE will be focused on the complete UI5 end-to-end bundle, and also new courses will be coming on the Web IDE, and all the development will be XML based from within the project code. Also all the development is XML based. And when we talk about S/4HANA, so if we are talking about S/4HANA ERP, we will now go into more of architecture mode, and we will be focusing more on S/4HANA this year as well, because SAP is already training a lot of people on S/4HANA, but we want to train on ABAP level and on the service level. So what I mean by ABAP and service level is when we see YouTube or any learning platform, there's a lot of marketing content, and we are really confused. Okay, what is S/4HANA? And basically what has happened is previously there was a lot of database used within SAP if you are having standard ERP. So let me switch to this sketchpad to really help you understand what has happened, and then how we are basically going to work on this. Also, I would like you to really ask me questions and make this make this session interactive. You can comment on YouTube, and we can also work on this. Okay, so basically, previously, traditionally, we were having a lot of databases when we used ERP. Our database were like Oracle, also DB2, IBM DB2. These were the databases where our data was stored. Now with SAP HANA, S/4HANA, everything is just on HANA. There's no other database. It's just one database layer, And on top of that, we have actually a ABAP stack. So in HCP, the cloud, you also have one Java and one JavaScript stack. So what I mean by stack, so when you are working on a platform, so if you can code in one type of language, you compile it. When you compile, then the final result of the program will give you some output with the database or using some services. So that particular compilation which happens, that actually takes over one stack. So basically, if let's say Java virtual machine environment, so as we all know, Java virtual machine environment have the Java stack. And similarly, in SAP HANA now, the stack which actually takes care of the code level compilation is ABAP stack. So like all the ABAPers, they are like really happy that their skills will not be obsolete. In S4 HANA, we have a new ABAP 7.4 and ABAP 7.5. What is there in ABAP 7.4 and 7.5? So when I worked on the syntax of ABAP 7.4 and ABAP 7.5, it was more like a Python. What I was when I worked on Python, so I felt a similar compatibility with what the Python language is and then what this new ABAP is. So we are seeing more and more of change in ABAP or improvement. So it can work on a distributed environment. You don't need to really write complex statement now. And the if-else statement structure is also simplified. We will be also bringing a lot of courses, not a lot, but like at least 2 courses on ABAP 7.4, because you will be, most of the people who are in a platform are still working on ABAP, and they need to really use ABAP 7.4. This is really good if you have that component within your SAP customer's SAP landscape. Then ABAP 7.4 you should utilize, and then make advantage of easy development. And what I mean by easy development, that all the internal table looping is just an if condition and like a for loop now. So it's like how you develop in Python. So more like of that that thing I'm experiencing with ABAP 7.4. So with ABAP 7.4, we will be using this CDS view, which is like core data services. And what SAP has now done is they have bought core data service extensively in S4 HANA. So you have a single database, and on that top of it, on that database, you have a lot of virtual models. For example, to give you an example of virtual model, it's like your calculation view. So your calculation view is like a design time model. And what happens in that design time model is it's not physically present. You are not storing basically data in a temporary table with that data structure. It's not also a view, but it is a design time object. So you get few fields from this table, you get few fields from that table, and you say, okay, this is one view or design of a database structure or data structure which can be pulled together. And on an internal level, your server or maybe database, in this case SAP HANA, will be optimizing that. So when you pull data with that particular object, design time object, you are not really slow. So that is the main objective of having design time object. So your SAP HANA database layer is the main layer. On top of it, you will be having a lot of design time object. And now the surprise is previously what we saw with HANA Cloud and normal HANA Access is that you have your ERP running with SAP HANA. So when I'm saying ERP, some people will say, okay, the ERP backend is DB2 or Oracle, but now with S4 HANA, everything is gone. If they migrate to this S4 HANA, then the backend is only S4 HANA. Even your SAP frontend, which you might be using, you are acquainted with, that is basically utilizing SAP HANA as a database. So everything is gone now, only SAP HANA database as a backend is used. And on top of it, we will be seeing CDS. So CDS will be the main layer which will pull data out of this HANA. So we'll be focusing on CDS, how to write this new type of services which are CDS based. And on top of that, we will have a layer of UI. So this layer is where you have your Fiori application, you have your UI5 application, everything. So hope you're seeing with the Sketchpad. And what we will be learning first is this Web IDE, because I want to go from the top down, and Web IDE is really utilized to extend your Fiori application, develop Fiori application fast. So that is something which we will be seeing. And when we talk about Web IDE, and I was really surprised that when I go in Google, I cannot find Web IDE in my HANA instance, but when I go in Amazon, I deploy my SAP HANA, I can find Web IDE, because Web IDE is available with HCP. It is not available with HANA Access. HANA Access only provides you a minimal configuration of HANA database and few of the administrative activity. It's a fully functional production use, but it's different from HCP. HCP, you have a lot of service offering as well. So that is a broad level picture. And finally, like S4 HANA, basically why they went through it. So basically, when we were having traditional ERP, we used to have a lot of index tables and a lot of multiple records were stored for changes and all. So now with S4 HANA, they said, okay, we will take advantage of this columnar storage, and we will be basically having duplicate. For example, if any purchase order is there and then there is a line item. For example, if there's a line item and then I made some changes in the line item. So based on the columnar structure, that particular column has only the update. So what basically is happening is, in a columnar structure, I can basically have a duplicate column entity. For example, if this is one record and one of the field is updated, only one of the field is updated, I don't need to duplicate the entire record. I will basically have only one data field, which is representing that, okay, this column's new data is coming into picture. So I reduce the data footprint. So that is the mindset which SAP has followed. They have kind of said, okay, we will use this architecture in S4 HANA now, and then with columnar database advantage, they were able to they were able to make the entire ERP follow the same structure. So lot of complexity internally has been simplified. So also you can ask me, because I'm seeing no questions asked from like your side, Sachin or Madhusri. You can just kind of interact, also make this session engaging. So okay, so that is what has happened from traditional ERP to this S4 HANA. And internally, when you are working on SAP development, you are in SAP and you are developing this SAP HANA, then you will be seeing more and more of this, but you will not be, when you are working for a customer and you're consulting, you're implementing HANA or supporting or trying to implement application, you will not be anyhow working on the columnar level. Actually, you might drill down to see this is happening in new S4 HANA, but basically as a developer, you will be working on this core data services. You will be working on this UI5 and Fiori app extension, and basically creating new application, custom application. So these are the things which you will be working. And also schema. You will be creating new schema and trying to create the CDS and structure for that. Okay, one more thing which we will be seeing more and more now is migration project. There has been already a lot of migration project, and migration project is not a simple thing. Why? Because when you have existing ERP system, for example, if this is existing ERP and I have my database, for example, this is the database of DB2, and it had some structure. For example, your functional field like SAP Finance and MM, they have some of the tables in the database. These are standard tables. All the standard tables will not be same when it comes to S4 HANA. So what we have seen in the transformation or the migration from standard SAP ERP to S4 HANA is basically we have lot of fields which are not there anymore. Lot of business process, which, for example, if I am having one business process of MRP run, imagine MRP run is not present in S4 HANA. I'm just giving one example. MRP run is present, but similar to that, a lot of processes are not present. So MRP run is used to find out the shortage of stocks in my warehouse, and imagine S4HANA, I don't have that process because it is not required anymore. Previously, when we were working with SAP, we have a lot of SAP actually for customers. We have a lot of batch jobs which runs overnight, so that in the morning the user can come in and they can see the report of how much shortage I have, how can I plan for this day or this month or this year. But now everything is done real time because we have this new in-memory things coming into picture. Okay, so that is how we have we are seeing new things, and to be able to do that, we need to understand first the CDS views and also structuring of new tables in S4. So that is the key. So these are three things which we will be focusing this year, and architecture wise, this is how our objective, or like the objective here is always to work on end-to-end projects. So if you go to customer site, you can single-handedly deliver an application. So that is the main objective. So if you are working on the web ID, you create new application, then you go for the CDS view to create the service, and this service will be exposed as OData. So this service basically are OData, and this is still in HTTP or HTTPS, and this is IMPS. Yeah. So these are basically enterprise search is a completely different thing. We're not going to touch that. We are going to just see UI5, then CDS view with ABAP, and also we are going to see analytics application, more and more that. Fiori extension, we're going to see a lot of things here, and then we are going to see the database, S4HANA database, where S4HANA database is the same database as SAP HANA or XS HANA. The database is same. The only difference is what are the services you have access to on top of that. So that is what differentiate from HCP, from SAP. So a lot of flavors are there. So we have XS and HCP, and then also like S4. So with S4 out of the box, you get a lot of capabilities. Lumira, you get business object. You get also HANA database. You get the ABAP stack, and also ABAP stack includes NetWeaver gateway. So, and that is what I see differences. For example, if I draw a circle here, so this is basically the biggest is S4, and then if you see that this is basically HANA Access, and HANA Access basically is engine, HANA engine, and like when you add a lot of services, then it's becoming S4, and then it can be on-premise also, which is like the customer says, okay, I will own my own hardware and I will own my own server, that is on-premise. And if it's in cloud, so if we put it in cloud of SAP, or we put it in cloud of Amazon or Google, so that is cloud, and then on-premise. So we have both the version, and more we are going to migrate towards cloud. Unless the company is really big, it's really big, and say, okay, I can take care of the expense of the hardware cost and the software cost. Most of the company who go for on-premise are the company who have a lot of budget for infrastructure, and then they don't mind spending the money for security, privacy, and owning the hardware. And cloud will be focused. Cloud is like something which small companies who are using SAP will be moving on to, and then also big vendor also will be using cloud and on-premise mixed, called hybrid model. So they will be having some of the services on the cloud and some of them on-premise. And when I say services, it's basically the database plus on top of it the program which runs the entire business, so business process there. Okay, so that's how we are going to see more and more of cloud adoption. And now comes the machine learning. So if I go back to my PPT here, so this is the same thing which basically we just discussed. Okay, this is what has happened with S4. S4 basically is not any new thing. It's basically a improvement. It's a business suite 4. And what I have seen is out of box, you get a lot of new things which you can try it out. And it's huge. huge number of people have adopted S4, and it's the new trend. And we are going to cover migration, but migration is really tough because there are so many tables and fields which require conversion. And based on the functional, for example, if I'm doing for finance, then there's a functional consultant involved who will be mapping the new fields and there is a structure of how old data is. For example, if previously I used to store a data with its name and date, and the new I have this name and date separate, or only name is stored, no date is stored. So there are a lot of conversion similar to this simple example, which happens in the migration from SAP normal HANA to S4 HANA, or also SAP ERP to SAP HANA. So the migration process is really 6 months or 8 months project. So we're not going to cover more on migration because it's challenging there. Okay. So there's a question, what is limitation of creating services in XSOData, XSJS versus CDS? So when we are talking about service creation in XSOData, basically it's what I'm seeing mostly is CDS is utilizing your ABAP code. It can be called with your gateway, but when I'm working on this XSOData calls, we have worked extensively in this project code. This is still in production to be made live. What we have seen is the XSOData on XSJS only stays within the SAP HANA, and the CDS is basically can be utilized with the ABAP code. And what I experienced basically in CDS view, we have the power of annotations, which can make the development much faster. It's a improved CDS are also virtual model. What is a virtual model is if you create a calculation view within SAP HANA, and you are basically then exposing this calculation view with services. I created this calculation view. I want to expose this calculation view with the services. It's a 3 line of steps. 3 steps are there which can expose this calculation view as XSOData services within SAP HANA. But the same thing we can do with CDS with ABAP code, and there are annotations, 1 line annotation which I can just introduce there, and it will be also like your gateway can also expose those services. So CDS view, what I will say is a way of creating those XSOData calls with ABAP. And what I have realized is CDS is what people are doing with S4 HANA, and XSOData and XSJS are the way which we do with normal SAP XS engine. I find CDS to be much more futuristic compared to XSOData calls. Under the hood, SAP says that okay, you can expose calculation views or views directly with service calls, but basically that's what exactly happens with CDS. But you are given much more flexibility and features. So that's what I see, these 2 things comparison. Okay. So I hope I'm able to answer this question. So yeah, so let's look into the 4th part, or the 4th piece, which we are hearing a lot about, and that is basically the machine learning part. So one question which I have is like, we were working on some of the models of machine learning and IoT. So previously Leonardo was used by SAP for IoT, and now they are also using it for machine learning. Internally, it's still kind of going a lot of development every week. If you see the GitHub repository, it's a lot of machine learning codes are coming in. We do have some TensorFlow courses coming out. So what basically has happened is machine learning has taken a more predominant focus in the market, in the general market worldwide. Why actually? So I will give you a small example. For example, if you are having a store, a retail store, for example, take an example of a retail store, and this retail store is basically having product within its shelf, and I can have 2 solutions to find out the life of each product if my product is degraded. For example, if I'm having milk, I can have butter, I can have some of the other product like chocolates. So if the chocolate or the butter is staying up for 1 year and not bought, then that means that cannot be consumed. So how can I understand that, okay, that product is basically not good? So I can have either sensor embedded, and then they are just basically scanning the barcode within the shelf of that particular inventory. If it's a normal store like Walmart, and then you have sensors everywhere in each shelf, and then they are basically sending you data, and this data is basically processed, and there is no computation. You just read the data and you say, okay, it's really good or bad, and you take the call with a simple logic. But you need to install the sensor in every part of the layer, or everywhere in the shelf. But the second solution is you use machine learning. So basically, you have one product, you know exactly what is the date of manufacturing of that product, and you have simple algorithm that finds out, okay, what is the degradation factor of that product, and is it good for consumption. So in this second scenario, we don't install sensors everywhere, and we only get 2-3 properties out of one product. That's all. And then our algorithm can basically figure out if the product is good or bad. So which case do you think it's better? It's better to have sensors everywhere and then really find something which we can just compute if we have a good algorithm. So that is the reason why when we worked on IoT, the major problem was the hardware side. We have to really go to install sensors in each location, which is pumping data, and then we are just kind of computing meanings. And at the end, what we were getting is not much of things done. So there is one use case of predictive maintenance. Apart from that, from my experience, I have really worked throughout the year. It's not about only SAP, it's about all the other solutions present in the market. There is only predictive maintenance. Anything else in IoT, smart city, there's all jargons. We don't see much of IoT there. It's only huge volume of data coming in. You have to store it for processing or analytics. But I find machine learning much more powerful than IoT. This is kind of my personal opinion, but this is after working with a lot of projects and experts. Why? Because if I just have a small bit of processing done in my cloud application or any server, then I can really find the same thing which I can do with the sensor. So here I will just show you a simple model of machine learning. So this is the final step of this particular webinar, where we are going to talk about the machine learning. So let me switch to my sketchpad now. Okay, so more and more machine learning courses are going to be coming out, and then this is going to really take the center stage in 2018 and coming forward, because we have ERP set up in HANA Cloud. HANA has the capability to compute big data, and there is no problem of computation now. And the only thing is what you do with this computation. So at the end, we are going to show you Leonardo also, but in general, I'm going to show you machine learning architecture. So this week on the project code also, we are having machine learning, but any machine learning, at the center of the machine learning is actually a model. So we have worked on some of the use cases by Amazon, and then there are so much branches on machine learning, but this is crucial. This is like everywhere. Every model need to have, every type of machine learning algorithm need to have one model, and this is basically the brain of the particular engine or system. And then you try to help this model learn. There are two types or two ways you help this model learn. The first is unsupervised, and then the second is supervised. Everyone knows that in unsupervised, we basically don't give training data set, and supervised, we give training data sets. For example, if we want this model to recognize cat and dog, then we say, okay, this is a cat image, and we say, okay, this is cat. We say one more cat image, we say, okay, this is one more cat. So this model basically understand, okay, this is how this cat diagrams are. So this is supervised way. In unsupervised way, the model learns by mistakes. So this is basically two variation of machine learning. and every machine learning need to build this model. And now once the model is built, it's perfected, then we can basically put some information or data to it, and it can categorize it. It can say, okay, this is a cat, this is a dog, and it can classify it. So this is basically what all the categorize. So my handwriting is not that good. I hope, please bear with me. So machine learning model can do only two things: categorize and classify, and that's all it can do basically. So it can say, okay, it can say yes no question, it can answer yes no question, and it can classify the things into multiple output. So for example, if there are 10 things, it can basically classify them on, okay, this particular thing which you have given input is belong to the first category, third category. And our project code is basically a categorization problem, which is actually a recommendation system. So this is what is machine learning on a general. And when we talk about ERP now comes the HANA, ERP world and general world in general. If you see the Leonardo need to build a model initially, and that model should be that good enough, it can take decision, and the accuracy of the decision is very good. And what are the use cases we have at present? When we see the Sapphire and when we see all the events, what they are presenting is a image classifier. So we have a video feed where you can identify the logos of different company to see the market footprint of each companies. And the other use case what we have is from a resume, you find out, okay, if the candidate is good or bad. So these are like the use cases which are currently with the Leonardo. We'll go quickly in Leonardo and really see one nice example now. What I'm going to do, just for the purpose of fun and to like show you that, okay, it's cool also. It's in the process. Leonardo is in the process. It's having a model, and what we are going to do now is a image classification. So I'm going to really give two images to Leonardo and see if it can recognize between a cat and a rabbit. So let's try to do that. So also ask me questions, because I don't see any more questions after this HANA, XSJS and CDS. So this one more question is unsupervised input to model, who decides or how it is decided whether classification was done right or wrong? Is unsupervised model, okay. So that's really a good question, and it means that you're thinking. So when we have an unsupervised learning, we don't have a training data set. So we have a training data sets here. I'm just abbreviating it, training data set. It is not called TDS, but I'm just making the short form. It is given in the supervised learning. In unsupervised learning, you just are taking an input and you are saying basically that, for example, what we are doing with the recommendation system in our project code, we are having this ALS, alternative least square. That is a mathematical model. That is a mathematical model which doesn't take any input and output, basically finds out a weight factor, and based on that weight factor, basically categorize our product if they need to be sold together or not. And matrix factorization is one example of it, which you are already familiar with the project code. So decide by checking the output if it is right and wrong. You just refine the mathematical model, and with the probability you take that judgment. So that is like the beauty or the surprise of the mathematical models in unsupervised learning. So this is basically two types of it, and hope I answered your question. And we are going to work more on machine learning with a lot of new courses. Tensor library, which is deep learning, we are going to also bring it on board. But at this point, we just want to finish the project code machine learning part and then go into deep machine learning. In this scenario, which I think I just lost, basically what we are doing. We were basically using SAP Leonardo to show you a demo. So let me come back to this SAP Leonardo. So I'm monitoring all the comments here, so you can see here as well. So okay, so this is basically SAP Leonardo. We are inside SAP Leonardo platform, and what we have at this point is we have a setup done which exposes us with this model. The model is already there with SAP, and then they're exposing it with APIs. So what they want you to do, or what I think they are really doing it the right way, is because what the model is going to be crucial in this stage, and the model need to be constantly learning. It's a supervised learning which they have, and then the model need to be constantly learning. And then if you use this platform and you try to learn by mistakes, then it will be more mature. So every wrong decisions take it to make it more perfect. So let's try to see it. For example, this is a image classification, and I don't know if I might be logged off. Let's try to log in here, and I'm just going to refresh it. So just to confirm that if it asks me the credential, then that means I'm logged out and my session has expired, that means. Okay, so let it refresh if you have more questions. Yeah, so it's still working. Okay, so this we got. Now let's try to expand operation, and let's try to, this is the API format, so try to log in to try out. Okay, so it has logged me out, so let's try to log in. So it's single sign-on. It's basically free trial, so anyone can really go into the Leonardo free library and really have the experience of what we will be going to have within few months or few years within our enterprise itself. So let's try to use it. Expand operation. So now it gives me an API, and basically what I will be doing, I will be selecting an it's an image classifier, and I'm going to choose a file. So first of all, I will try to use a cat image. So I'm going to check if Leonardo can actually tell me if it's a cat or what it is. So let's try it out. So it's going to take the image, try to parse it, try to understand it, if it can really get it correctly. So let's see the results here. So you can see here that it's giving me not one answer but multiple answer, and then this is the score. Basically, what is the percentage or likelihoodness it can be an Egyptian cat? It's basically the highest likelihoodness that it's an Egyptian cat. So basically the image is basically of a cat, Egyptian cat image, so it was able to guess it properly. And it also has a likelihoodness that it is a tiger cat or a tabby or a lynx or a gray fox. So but the likelihoodness is very less, so it is based out of probability. It thinks that 0.33% or 32% is basically it's a cat. Let's try to give it a difficult image. So this is pretty simple image, and what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to give it a difficult image. So this is basically a rabbit, sleeping rabbit. It's hard to recognize a sleeping rabbit, so let's try to see. If you want to see the image of cat and this rabbit, this is the rabbit. It's pretty difficult to recognize. So let's see if we have any questions. Okay. So let me see the rabbit first. So let's see. Okay, it's taking a lot of time, but let's see. Yeah, so it's this rabbit. So this is the rabbit what we were about to give it, and it's not very easy for the machine to really recognize it because the rabbit is sleeping and half of its face is not visible. And we see, if we see the face of the cat was pretty much visible. So let me try to send this rabbit and try to see. Try it out. The cat was very easy to recognize because it's just a cat, single cat, so it was easily able to find out. But now when we get the response, so these are like just API based. You send the image with the API, then you get a response with the API, and And that's how machine learning is going to be in the future. You are just going to access to a service, and in return you are going to get a result, and this result will be the likelihoodness index of classification or maybe categorization. So it's saying that it's a Wobbit. Wobbit is, I don't know what is a Wobbit, so I search it in the Google, and then Wobbit is basically like a mouse. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not much into animal science, but it is categorizing it as a Wobbit, and it is not saying a rabbit anymore. So the main idea is more and more your machine learning algorithm, or more and more your machine learning model is exposed to real world. For example, in this case, I'm not really telling the model that, okay, you were wrong, and then it's actually a rabbit. So it learned from it, okay, if a rabbit is sleeping, half of its face is not visible, then it can still categorize it. So that's basically what has happened. I'm not telling Leonardo that, okay, this is actually a rabbit, not a Wobbit. Wombat. So let's also Google Wombat, and it is like an little similar to rabbit, like if you see the images also. Wombat are short-legged, muscular. I cannot read whatever it is. Like, this is the wombat what we have. Okay, so we saw a little demo, and what basically I was trying to convey from this is what we are going to get return is the likelihoodness score, and this is what a model is returning. A program is basically referring to it, and in return we are going to see the likelihoodness index of how much the machine thinks that is as a classification. Okay, so let's see if you have a question. I think we don't have any questions. So this was basically the entire session, and let me try to switch back to the PPT. And I hope that we have some, please ask me a question, because within a few seconds, few minutes, we're going to close this session. This was about to be like 30-minute session, but it went out to be 1 hour session. So what we are seeing here, I think we are seeing a lot of machine learning coming into our enterprise, and I see this, it's not going to happen very soon. It's not going to happen very soon because at this point, use cases are not there. Good use cases. It's only image classification, this classification, that classification. But when we talk about the use case which is relevant to our ERP operations, we don't have that much good use cases. Okay, we can categorize. For example, in Project Core, it was very hard to really formulate the use case. Okay, we can have a recommendation system which gives the marketing manager insights that, okay, what product to bundle, because bundle sells more. So that was one use case, but it was not very common, or it is like one of the common, maybe. I will say it's like there are only few use cases like that and not much. And people basically are looking for use cases because technology we have, database capability we have, but use cases are not there. So if you can learn machine learning and try to find out use cases or problem statement from your own side, and really try to implement the existing models, trying to take help of this SAP HANA or any other platform, like say machine learning with Spark or any other thing, by having a basic knowledge about machine learning, then it's going to be very, very excellent, because we don't have much of the use cases now on the machine learning. In IoT, it's like a minimalistic use cases. Only predictive maintenance was what I see. Everyone was trying to do predictive maintenance, and any vendor, everyone was like jumping in the predictive maintenance. But the machine learning, we do have some of the use cases which can be which are popular. But over time, we see new use cases coming, and then if you want to really work on new use cases and really trying to build a product, and you can build a company around it. I think it's brand new in SAP. It will take some time because maturing a model takes time, takes a lot of trial and error to formulate the best mathematical model. So we do have a lot of time, and we are going to focus more on giving you the basic understanding of the infrastructure, and then exploring how you can ask the right question. We expect that most of you are in leading places in your customer location. If you are not, then you will become, because our job here is to make you the one who leads things, not the one who follows things. So and the difficulty is to do the difficult things. The challenge is to do the difficult things, and basically that will be our responsibility here. Okay, so I'm waiting for any questions you have. Within 5 minutes, we will close this session. So if you have any questions, we can go ahead, and I'm here, so you can ask me questions. In the meantime, I will talk about a little bit about machine learning and our experience with machine learning so far. So I think we internally use machine learning basically to categorize our marketing efforts and really finding out which topics people might be interested in. But the real challenge with the machine learning is the ability of a model or like the ability to really depend on a model, because if your model is not mature enough, then it will take a wrong decision. And if you are not really relying upon it, then, for example, in a simple scenario is, if this model is not good enough, why should I use it? And if I'm not using it, then how can this become a good model? So that is basically the bottleneck is. People need to start using machine learning models to make it mature. It can be like any algorithm or implementation inside it. It can be deep learning, can be neural network, or can be simple ALS, or maybe Bayesian algorithms. But you need to start using the model and make it better. But if the model is not good, then why should I use and waste my time? So that is the paradox what we are having. But more and more people are having experimental teams who basically work in model and refine it. Okay, so if you have any more question, you can basically email me. I will just kind of ping my email ID here, or maybe the email ID of where our technical team can help you. connect@ui5cn.com, and please use it to ask any questions. This is mostly this session was mostly a technical session to demystify what is out there. So we just to kind of wrap up, we basically started with SAP HANA, S4 HANA and Web IDE, how this CDS thing is coming into picture, and how the S4 HANA is different from the everything else, and why S4 HANA comes into picture. And then we basically went into this machine learning, and we saw a simple demo of how the API are going to come and tell us that, okay, this is a rabbit or a cat, or more if it's a procurement order, if there's a mistake in some orders, and that will be like the scenario in our SAP ERP. So we saw a simple example there. And similar to this, we have a lot of development happening in the machine learning, and more and more the difficulty nowadays is what are the use case which we can pick. Okay, so with this, we are just logging off. Thank you guys for joining in. We had some issues initially for the audio. Sorry about that. This session, we will try to basically have an improved version as well in YouTube, and it's going to be free. More and more sessions will be like the private session will be mostly for UI5 premium users, but we will still be doing sessions with YouTube for free stream, and you can also demand what type of sessions you might be requiring from us as well. From your, there are people who are saying that, okay, we will not take project related queries in the market, but I think you give us difficult things, and then that's what actually allow us to go above others. So please ping us any specific requirements you have. We will try to formulate in a webinar, live webinar, or any course, and we will bring it to you. So thank you for watching, and we'll catch up again. Bye-bye for now.